الله أكبر والله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر والله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر والله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد.
And when he was old enough to run along with him, he said, O my dear son, I have seen in a dream that I offer thee in sacrifice. So consider what thou thinkest of it. He replied, O my father, do as thou art commanded. Thou wilt find me, if Allah please, steadfast in my faith.
Sacrifice, the central theme of al-Adha. The sacrifice of one's offspring may seem unthinkable to most, even barbaric. Surely one would rather endure the harshest of pains than wish a dot of discomfort upon their progeny. It is a natural reaction, human nature some would say, a truly universal trait, whether man or woman, in Europe, Africa or Asia. An extraordinary fact of life and testament to man's utter love and devotion for his own. It is this natural reaction, universally instilled within us all, that Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ was commanded to abandon thousands of years ago today.
Until the age of 86, Ibrahim ﷺ did not have a son. At the age of 86 years, he had his firstborn, and that was Ismail ﷺ. And who was born out of his Egyptian wife, whose name was Hajra ﷺ. When the time of Abraham ﷺ came, this sacrifice, which is called the human sacrifice, this was abolished. He was commanded to sacrifice his son. He saw a dream in which he saw that he was slaughtering his son.
The Holy Quran states, and when he was old enough to run along with him, he said, O my dear son, I have seen in a dream that I offer thee in sacrifice. So consider what thou thinkest of it. He replied, O my father, do as thou art commanded. Thou wilt find me, if Allah please, steadfast in my faith.
This verse highlights in particular the complete faith and devotion of Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ and his beloved son, placed in God and God's will.
So when he related this dream of his to his son, Hazrat Ismail ﷺ, he got prepared immediately. He said, yes, Ya Bati Farmat Omar, you should do what you have been commanded to. And Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ, when he was about to slaughter him, immediately at that time, God told him that, well, you have fulfilled your dream, because your preparedness shows that you have done your part of the sacrifice.
Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ was ready to follow God's instructions at once, never hesitating, questioning or showing any sign of reluctance in sacrificing his most beloved son, Hazrat Ismail ﷺ. Foregoing his own feelings, those of his wife, Hazrat Hajra, and his ancestors who through him hoped to propagate their progeny. Any worldly person not familiar with Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ's qualities would think of him simply as a madman. How could he perform such a callous, heartless act? One would think he is utterly devoid of tender feelings. The Holy Quran unequivocally banishes this thought. It states that Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ was a wise, tender-hearted and godly person, with the least painful incident bringing tears to his eyes and rendering him restless. Consequently, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was neither mad or devoid of human sentiment. His feelings at the time of sacrificing his only son can only be described as the most tender feeling of the most loving mother or father. With this in mind, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam asked his only son to lie down on the ground and with the knife in his hand proceeded with great vigor to carry out God's command.
The Holy Quran states, "And when they both submitted to the will of God, and Abraham had thrown him down on his forehead, we called to him, O Abraham, thou hast indeed fulfilled the dream. Thus indeed do we reward those who do good. That surely was a manifest trial."
So it is said that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam took him outside, and when he was about to slaughter him, at that particular moment God told him, Ya Ibrahim ka saddaqta ruya. O Ibrahim, you have fulfilled your dream. So he forbade him from slaughtering the son, and instead he gave him, he asked him to slaughter a goat instead, and he slaughtered the goat at that time in his place. This abolished the human sacrifice onwards. So this dream, as a matter of fact, had an interpretation. The interpretation was that the way Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam would take him to Arabia, the place which is now called Mecca, he was to take him to that place and leave him there with his mother. So that was, not less than slaughtering a child in the way of God.
The words, "Thou hast indeed fulfilled the dream," shows that Hazrat Ibrahim was not required to fulfill his vision in an actual fact, but that it was only a practical demonstration of his intention and preparedness to slaughter his son, which was desired of him. Hazrat Ibrahim's alayhi salam preparedness to sacrifice Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam was perpetuated in the Islamic institution of sacrifice, which forms an integral part of the ceremonies of Hajj. What greater testimony could there be to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam having left behind him a good name than that the followers of the three great religions, Islam, Christianity and Judaism, take pride in ascribing their ancestry to the great patriarch.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك